All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I just want to say again, thank you to everybody who has listened to our program and enjoying the content. It does seem like every other day or so, I'm getting a message from somebody who has found our program and they like what they hear. So we want to continue with what we're doing, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Well, let's just jump right into it. After all of the Zeke who comments by owner Jerry Jones, all of the who needs a leading rusher to get to the Super Bowl, star running back for the Dallas Cowboys, my team, Ezekiel Elliott, has signed a contract extension in the neighborhood of 6 years, $90 million, $50 million guaranteed, which makes the deal total 8 years, $103 million, which makes it the first Dallas Cowboy to eclipse $100 million in total value of his contract, and also makes him the highest paid NFL running back. And my response to that is, way to go, Zeke. Way to go, Zeke. And the next question to be asking Zeke is, did the check clear? I think it's a good deal. I think the money is well deserved. Let's face it, they use NFL running backs. They know these owners have manipulated these NFL contracts, these rookie wage scales to benefit them. They use these running backs. Then when it's time for the running back to cash out, now all of a sudden they want to franchise you. All of a sudden they want to let you walk. So I don't agree with the system and how to use running backs. So Zeke worked the system, used his leverage, held out, told the team, if I don't have the deal, I'm going to hold out, and he got his money. Now, the issues that I have with what was surrounding the entire Zeke situation was some of the comments by Jerry Jones as well as members of the mainstream media, which is some of the reasons why I decided to do Chin Check Radio. Now, you had Jerry Jones making comments, as I've alluded to earlier, about Zeke who. That's very disrespectful. Making comments of, I don't need a leading rusher to win the Super Bowl or something to that effect. But each of his 3 Super Bowls, he's had the leading rusher in the incomparable Emmitt Smith. So I just found that funny. And he also pulled the same thing with Emmitt Smith back in '93 after they won their first Super Bowl, decided not to pay Emmitt Smith. The Dallas Cowboys lost their first 2 games against the Washington Redskins and the Buffalo Bills, the same Buffalo Bills team who they crushed 52-17. Now all of a sudden, Emmitt Smith got his money, came back, won a rushing title, won an MVP, won a Super Bowl MVP, won the greatest season of all time, as well as playing in that famous Giants game with one bad arm. So I don't look at it as, Zeke did anything wrong. He did what's best for him, and he maximized his earning potential. Now, another thing that I used to hear from the mainstream media during 2017 rather, when Ezekiel Elliott was being suspended by the NFL and Jerry Jones went to bat, and I use that in quotes, for Zeke, and they had a show on Amazon about the Cowboys, and they showed when Ezekiel Elliott came back to the team after being suspended for the 6 games, and Jerry Jones stated that, hey, he told Ezekiel Elliott, hey, I went to bat for you. And people wanted to make it sound like Ezekiel Elliott was being ungrateful. And the issue I had with that was what Jerry Jones was supposed to do, was supposed to bat for a star player. Now, we all know the reasons behind the suspensions was BS anyway. We know that even the NFL investigator, who was a woman, stated that she didn't see any reasons to suspend Zeke. There were inconsistencies with the accuser against Zeke, and there were text messages that were leaked that admitted to her wanting to lie and encouraging friends to lie about Zeke. So I don't feel Zeke owed Jerry any debt of gratitude, because I didn't see Jerry going to bat for Randy Gregory for all of his problems or for David Irving. And don't get me wrong, those 2 guys had issues on their own. But in Zeke's case, don't make it sound like that you were doing him a favor. No, you were ultimately doing yourself a favor, Jerry, because Zeke is your best player on offense. So without your best player on offense, you saw how pedestrian Dak Prescott was. Now, we can also think about Tyron Smith not being there, and that may be true, but no stop running back, quarterback struggle. So don't make it sound like that Zeke was being ungrateful or disrespectful. you did what was best for you, because ultimately Jerry Jones does what's best for him. So I don't feel he owed Jerry any type of discount, hometown discount, team loyalty discount. No. You maximize your earning potential, because Jerry has, for the last 30 years, has maximized his earning potential. So I don't have any issues with the contract. Now, let's talk a little bit about Zeke's productivity and as to why he deserved the contract. In 2016, Zeke attempted or had 322 rushing attempts, with the league leading 1631 or 1,631 yards, along with 15 touchdowns that averaged out to 108.7 yards a game, 5.1 yards a carry. So that's his rookie season. Not a great offensive line. He, along with Dank, rookies, led the team to the divisional playoffs, lost against the Packers, and I was unfortunately there in Dallas for that game. In 2017, played 10 games, had 242 rushing attempts, 983 yards, 7 touchdowns, 98.3 yards a game, 4.1 yards a rush. Now, remember, Zeke was suspended for those 6 games. So if you average out the 6 games he missed, let's go on the small end, 20 carries a game. That's an extra 120 carries. So Zeke probably would have been on pace for 362 rushing attempts, because again, he had 242. Let's add the 120. That would have been 362 carries, which probably would have led the league. Again, clearly would have won another rushing title. Actually was on pace to win the rushing title before the suspension. Now, last season, 2018, Zeke again had 304 carries, 1,434 yards, 6 touchdowns, 95.6 yards a game, 4.7 yards a rush. Now you might say, well, those numbers are a little bit down, but he also added 77 catches for 567 yards at 5.1 yards a catch. Now, those yards per catch is up from 3.2 his rookie season and 2.6 in 2017. So, which means Zeke touched the ball 381 times in 2018. So almost 400 carries. So you mean to tell me that being the workhorse back, being a pass catching back, picking up blitzes out of the backfield back, Zeke shouldn't get this money? I disagree with that totally. So I'm happy for Zeke. I believe he definitely earned the money. Well deserved. He shouldn't feel bad about it. And I'm starting to dislike this narrative that the black athletes should be grateful of the money after being given. No, they've earned the money. And as I discussed in the previous podcast, the NFL would not be the way it is if not for the athletic exploits of these athletes. What I find funny is the black athletes should be grateful about making this money, but Jared Goff signed a 4-year, $134 million contract extension, and you hear nothing about it, and you hear, in fact, he earned the money. When it comes to the black athletes, be grateful about the money, they're overpaid, but when it comes to the white athletes, now all of a sudden, they earn the contract. So I just find that very hypocritical, but in the system that we have, hypocrisy makes the wheels on the bus go round and round. Now, with Ezekiel Elliott, for all my Giants fans out there, oh well, it's time to crack open and walk the dog on y'all. So to my boys back in Jersey, quick shout outs to George, aka Erupt, my boy John, Lil Cuz Anthony, Big Warren, all my other Giants friends, all back home in Jersey and the New York tri-state area. We gonna get y'all on Sunday. So just kind of putting it out there. We're gonna have a little early fun trash talking on football season. So I mean, we were gonna beat you guys anyway. With Zeke coming back, it's only gonna be worse. So we'll see you on Sunday, and I'll definitely be waiting for the calls as well as the text messages. So congratulations, Zeke. Now, we had a big retirement in the NFL. Quarterback Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts, who retired at the age of 29, citing injuries, and he didn't have the passion for the game, and basically his body broke down. Now, the man has a right to retire. He felt that he couldn't go through another painful rehab, because for those of us who had played any type of sports or been involved in any type of physical activity, when you get injured and you try to rehab and your pain doesn't go away, it's definitely frustrating because now you're psychologically, scarred. Will I get hurt again? Am I overcompensating on one side to make up for the other side? So a lot of things go through your head when you suffer any type of injury. So I feel that Andrew Luck did what was best for him and his family, as well as his long-term health. Now, what I found totally disgusting were the fans who booed Andrew Luck, who had the gall to boo that man as he walked off the field. And I get sick and tired of hearing the mainstream media always want to say, well, it wasn't the right time to do it and this wasn't the right time. No, it just seems that nowadays for the modern sports fan and the modern sports media, there's never a time to really do anything. And I have a problem with that. He told the team he was going to retire, and I don't have any issues with that. I thought Andrew Luck saved the franchise because let's face it, Andrew Luck was drafted in 2012. Now the team, he was the number 1 overall pick out of Stanford. The team went 2-14. Obviously, we know what happened when Peyton Manning got injured his neck. He ended up missing the whole season. The team went 2-14. They draft Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, he comes in. He leads the same Colts team to a record of 11-5 as a rookie. Broke the rookie passing yard set by Cam Newton. Andrew Luck threw for 4,183 yards. Cam Newton threw for 4,051 yards. So he set the rookie passing record. Led the team to the playoffs. They lost in the wild card round to the Baltimore Ravens. Only he, Reggie Wayne, wide receiver Reggie Wayne, and linebacker Robert Mathis made the Pro Bowl. In 2013, his second season, again, he went 11-5. Won the wild card against the Kansas City Chiefs. Lost to the Patriots in the divisional round. 2 Pro Bowlers, Robert Mathis, as well as, check this out, the long snapper, Matt Overton. Interesting. In 2014, the Indianapolis Colts went 11-5. They won the wild card game against the Bengals. And I actually remember watching that game when I was in Dallas for the Cowboys and Detroit Lions playoff game because they showed it on the big screen as we all waited outside to enter the stadium. They won the divisional round against the Broncos, actually beat Peyton Manning, and lost in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. Now, that's the infamous Deflategate, where the footballs had less air and Tom Brady was suspended and all that stuff that happened with Deflategate. So that's the infamous Deflategate game. Looking at it, New England ran all over them, so I highly doubt deflating or inflating footballs had anything to do with it, PSI, whatever the case may be. The Pro Bowlers on that team were safety Mike Adams, cornerback Vontae Davis, wide receiver T.Y. Hilton, middle linebacker DeQuell Jackson, Andrew Luck himself, the punter Pat McAfee, and the kicker, the legendary Adam Vinatieri. And by the way, Vinatieri and McAfee were the only 2 All-Pros on that team. In 2015, they went 8-8. 2016, they went 8-8. 2017, Andrew Luck missed the season. They went 4-12. Came back last season. They went 10-6. Won the wild card at the Texans and lost in the divisional round to the Chiefs. Now, when you look at 2015 and 16, why all of a sudden the drop in win totals? Because in 2015, in Week 3 against the Tennessee Titans, Andrew Luck had injured his shoulder in a comeback win. He missed 2 weeks from that, okay? He missed 2 weeks. In November of that same season, they played actually a comeback win against the Peyton Manning-led Denver Broncos. The very next day when Andrew Luck woke up, they said that he had blood in his urine. Turns out the man had a lacerated kidney. Let me say this again. A lacerated kidney and a partially torn abdominal muscle. In January of 2016, it was found out that Andrew Luck had torn cartilage in his ribs that was injured in that same Week 3 game against the Tennessee Titans. So again, in 2015, Andrew Luck sprained his shoulder as well as tore cartilage in his ribs, as well as had a lacerated kidney and a partially torn abdominal muscle. And the only reason why he was able to continue playing that season is the pain was numbed through injections. So fans want to boo this man, okay? The following season, November of 2016, against the Tennessee Titans, he suffered a concussion. Missed the next game versus the Steelers. The week after that, came back against the New York Jets. January 2017, had shoulder surgery to repair damage to his labrum. Oh, and by the way, in 2016, he threw for 4,240 yards with 31 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Of course, we all know that he missed the 2017 season with a bum shoulder, and more so because he had setbacks in his shoulder rehab. And in March of 2019, he had a calf strain that people really couldn't explain what it was because he missed OTAs and started training camp and then decided to retire. So all you fans, and I just read to you the serious injuries that Andrew Luck has sustained throughout his career. And the man still got up and played. He took the numbing injections. And for people to boo this man, he decided to do what's best for him and his family. I'm going to go back to the lacerated kidney. Most of you all miss work because of a hangnail. Most of you all miss work because of a cold. This man had a lacerated kidney, peeing blood. Andrew, I just want to say thank you. If nobody else is going to thank you for what you did, I'm going to say thank you. Because fans, I feel, are disgusting. Because let's not forget, being a history buff, and I'm old enough to remember when the great Barry Sanders retired from the Detroit Lions. You had Detroit area fans going on sports radio calling him gutless, calling him a coward. If I was Barry, I would never went back to Detroit. To say words like that, and I remember if you go back and watch Sports Centery, the old ESPN documentary on Sports Centery, people called that man gutless and they called him a coward. And he said good riddance because the man decided to retire. And Calvin Johnson, people came down on him because he decided to retire. Now, keep in mind, you have the nerve to call Barry Sanders gutless, but Barry Sanders carried a garbage franchise for over a decade. But just throwing it out there. As well as Calvin Johnson. He was the best player with an overrated quarterback, and for the most part, and not a very good franchise. But yet people want to go after him. Now, I do find funny the Indianapolis Colts did the right thing and let Andrew Luck keep his signing bonus money. But again, I have to give that the side eye because in Detroit, and I talked about this in the previous podcast about the Barry Sanders rule, where if the team wants to, through arbitration, they can go after the signing bonus money, which is what they did with Barry Sanders, and disgustingly as well, they did the same thing with Calvin Johnson. So you players in the city of Detroit, kind of watch yourself, because Detroit, they love you when you're playing, and as soon as you don't feel like playing anymore and you choose to retire, all of a sudden they want their money back. So players in Detroit, just be mindful of that, of how the city of Detroit and the Lions, how they do business. I just find that funny. Lastly, it was a big fight this weekend. Vasily Lomachenko, the reigning lightweight champion of the world, defeated Luke Campbell by unanimous decision and won the vacant WBC title belt. Now, you can say, well, that's just a normal boxing match. Why is that significant? Vasily Lomachenko, probably one can make an argument, is the pound-for-pound fighter in the world. You can say, let's throw in guys, Lomachenko, Canelo Alvarez, Errol Spence, Bud Crawford, Manny Pacquiao. So I would say those are some of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world, however you want to look at it. However you choose to rank them. Sergey Kovalev, Deontay Wilder. So those are usually round out your top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. But what's interesting about Vasily Lomachenko is the man only has 15 professional fights. Now, let me give you a rundown of who he's fought and beaten so far and why I think this guy is special, because you see him in the ring, his footwork is beautiful. I mean, the way he utilizes angles and speed, I mean, it's just a thing of beauty. And I was watching an ESPN documentary on him. Well, I don't know if it was ESPN, but it was some film they were doing on him about he does all type of eye coordination exercises where he's facing the wall and he would, the light will come on, he would tap the wall as fast as he can. I mean, that's showing great hand-eye coordination, which obviously you need that in boxing, and just the way he trains plus his amateur experience. So I want to go to, in March of 2014, in his second professional fight, lost to solid fighter Orlando Salido by split decision, who, oh, by the way, Orlando Salido was fighting in his 57th professional fight. Now, one can say they might have pushed him too fast, but you lose to a split decision to a guy who's fought 57 professional fights. So that's in March of 2014. In June of 2014, fought another solid fighter, Gary Russell Jr. That was his third fight, which was Gary Russell's 25th professional fight. So you have him again fighting somebody who has had, eight times as many fights that he has had. His next big fight was against Roman Martinez, who he knocked out in the 9th round to win the WBO junior lightweight title. And Roman Martinez had 34 professional fights. In November of 2016, he knocked out, or he didn't want to come out of his corner, Nicholas the Axeman Walters, and that was Lomachenko's 8th fight, which was Walters' 28th fight. Now, what was so shocking about that fight, and I was surprised what happened, because Nicholas Walters had just destroyed Nonito, the Filipino Flash, Donaire on HBO. And by the way, Walters was also undefeated going to that fight. So you have 28-0 Nicholas Walters versus 8-0 Vasily Lomachenko. And Walters was a big puncher, knocking guys out, and could not come out of his corner in the 7th round. So to me, that's the fight that really made me take notice to how good this guy really is. I'm talking about Vasily Lomachenko. In December of 2017, in his 11th fight, fought legendary Cuban amateur star Guillermo Rigondeaux, who was in his 19th professional fight. Now, in the case of Rigondeaux, you might hear 19th fight, but Rigondeaux, they said, had about 300 or 400 amateur fights. Now, Rigondeaux, I believe he moved up in weight. Now, what I found funny with Rigondeaux, would nobody want to fight Rigondeaux? They said his style was too boring. He was a very technical boxer. Utilized a lot of defense. Wasn't a guy to trade and bond with you. People booed in his fights. Defeated Nonito Donaire before Donaire was knocked out against Nicholas Axeman Walters. And that's another fight I was excited to see. I believe the fight was in New York City, if I'm not mistaken. And I definitely remember watching that fight. And Rigondeaux, he couldn't come out of the corner either. So I don't know what happened in those two fights. Guys mentally realized he couldn't do anything with Lomachenko, and he made Rigondeaux quit in the corner. In his 12th professional fight, May of 2018, fought Jorge Linares, who Linares was in his 48th professional fight, he moved up in weight for this fight. Had a technical knockout in the 10th round where he won the WBA, the Super, and the Ring Magazine lightweight titles. So again, in his 12th professional fight, he has already won the lightweight title. That's saying a lot. And again, on August 31st, 2019, in his 15th professional fight, beat Luke Campbell at the O2 Arena in England for the vacant WBC title. So this guy, one can make an argument, he already has a Hall of Fame resume already based on what he's done. So I'm impressed with the guy. I think that he still has a lot more fights. I believe there's whispers and rumors that Gervonta Tank Davis might be moving up in weight to fight him. So we're gonna see. If you ask my early predictions, I would take Vasily Lomachenko against Gervonta Davis. The reason why, I don't know. I like Tank. He's one of those naturally gifted guys, but I'm not sure if he's gonna put in the work ethic that a Lomachenko does, because he's already have a history of missing weights in fights. So my early returns, if they were to ever sign that fight, early prediction, I'll have to pick Lomachenko over Gervonta Tank Davis. But I'm interested in seeing that fight. So again, just wanted to just do a quick little podcast for you all. I know I kind of been missing for a little while. I want to thank you all for your support, and continue to support the program, as well as provide any criticism and feedback, which ultimately improves your listening experience. So once again, this is JD from Chin Check Sports Radio, signing off.